Quite a few years ago, it was really interesting. I was probably only about 19 or 20, and I was working in sales at Jenny Craig. So a gal that was also in sales, responsible to have people sign up on the program, I'd met her a couple of times, seemed very fond of her, she seemed like a nice gal, and she was fairly pregnant. So I didn't know her very well, but all of a sudden she came in one day and I could tell that she just didn't seem quite right, you know. So I asked her the classic thing that we always ask people is everything all right? And typically that makes people cry. And she proceeded to tell me that she was 2 weeks away from delivering her baby, and she'd gone in for her routine visit, and her doctor stepped out and he brought 6 doctors back in with him. So she was asking a lot of questions, they were asking her a lot of questions. She was scared, she knew something wasn't quite right, but they were asking her more questions than giving her answers. So it turns out that finally she just demanded that she wanted to know why there were 6 doctors standing in front of her. And her primary doctor said, well, it seems that somehow along the development of your baby, we've missed that it's going to be born without a brainstem. And we don't know how this happened because it shouldn't even have developed, but really what that means to you is if you can take the baby full term, when you deliver it, it'll die within a couple of hours. So here I'm 19 or 20 years old. Somebody that I'm fond of but I don't know very well has just told that to me. And my thought was, oh my word, you know. And I remember I paused for a minute and I looked up, and then all of a sudden this answer came. It wasn't my answer. So I told this gal, you know what, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. And I know that me asking you to do that is pretty easy, but this is what I'd like to ask. I don't want you to be anxious about this at all, because if you're anxious about it and it turns out that they're wrong, then you've been anxious for absolutely no reason. And if you're anxious about it and it turns out that they were right, then that means you've spent a couple extra weeks having all this extra anxiety, that you're really going to need that energy when the baby's born. And she walked away and I was amazed where that answer came from. But the fun part is that a couple months later she came to work with this baby and it was healthy. And she grabbed my arm and she said, you know what, I have to tell you 2 things. First of all, the day that you asked me to not be anxious, I thought you were crazy and I started to get a little mad at you. And then I thought, you know what, actually she's right. So she said, I literally that night went home and I didn't have one more worry, one more anxiety, and I just turned it over to God and just said, you know what, I believe that you're going to make everything okay. So then here she was with this healthy baby that she put in my arms to let me hold. So for me, that's a lot of what this baptism is about today. I want God to direct my life and I want Him to put me where I need to be. When sometimes I don't even understand that what's going to come out of my mouth needs to come out of my mouth. So I'm excited about that. That's how I want to live the rest of my life. Just being there doing what I'm supposed to be doing, even if it's not my plan. So let's go do this, babe.